Hello everybody, this is Diane. This is another episode of What Can We Do with Paper Scraps. This one is going to have more specific projects rather than just some general ideas to use, which I had a good response to those general ideas. Most of them were like just reminders of things we can use to create embellishments and ephemera with our paper scraps. But now I'm going to do some specific projects, and I have a few prototypes made and some pieces prepared. So let's just get into it. I started off with tags. And all of these ideas are pretty simple. My thought is, if we have a ton of paper scraps, which most of us do, we don't want to spend a half hour or an hour creating one ephemera piece with a few little paper scraps. We'll never get through paper scraps that way. I mean, we probably never will anyway. We're always creating more. But I wanted to get through more scraps and create some usable pieces in a short amount of time. So they're all pretty simple. So this one is very simple. You can make a tag in any shape and any means that you have. Got shadows going on here. I used my paper punch, my tag punch. I cut my strips to 2.5 inches to make them the widest that would fit in here. And I punched the long piece, and then I took just a smaller piece. It wasn't this small because you have to be able to manipulate it, you have to get it in there but have a piece hanging out. So it's longer than you want it to be. And punch it again, and then you can trim it to the height you want. And you just glue it to the top, and you have a two-tone tag. Very, very simple. I inked some reinforcements and added some to it, and added some fiber, and that's all I did to that. Here's another one that I didn't complete. I just punched it. So I don't want the carrots, I want this side to show. So I'm going to just glue that. It's very, very simple. Very pretty patterns here on these papers. These were scraps that I just made with the smash books that I had just made, and most of the scraps, the cut-off pieces, are going with the smash books, but I did keep a few pieces to create things with. So I just add that on there, and you can't write on the back of that, so I'm going to just take, this is another scrap. It's scrapbook paper, but it has a grid pattern on it. I'm just going to glue that there so that it can be journaled on the back. And I will just add my reinforcements. And tie my fiber in. And voila, there's a tag. So now I have two. And I did another one, prepped another one part way. So these are cut 2.5 inches. Look at that cute bird. And I slide it in there and punch. And then take this piece, which is going to be the accent piece at the top, and slide it in there and punch. And I may have some other shape. I know I have other shapes of tags that I could do with my Cricut. So I could do the same thing with my Cricut, just cut 2 tags the same size. You have to do them the same size or it'll change the size of the top. So you'll have to cut off that part of the top tag. Or you could just use your scissors and angle cut like we usually do. Let's see if that works. Yeah, I think I like that size. So whatever way you can make your tags, this is just a fun thing to do. So you can use a slightly larger piece and a smaller piece to create this tag. And if you have scraps of lined paper or light colored paper, you can put some on the back like I did with the plaid one that has music on the back. So you can have journaling space. This one has brown on the back, but I think you can write on that, and it would even give you lines to write on because it's a basket weave. It's got straight lines on it. And I didn't pull out any fiber for this or anything else for it, but I will just stick on the reinforcements while I have it here. And I'll add some fiber to that later. So those are 3 tags right there. Very simple, but a little bit decorative and cute. And the pattern paper itself makes them cute. So that was a quick one. I have a lot of Tim Holtz paper scraps, and I don't keep them with my other paper scraps. I keep them in my container of Tim Holtz paper pads. So I decided I wanted to make some tags using Tim Holtz paper scraps, and in getting those scraps out, I realized I need to have a few sessions of making ephemera with just Tim Holtz paper. So anyway, this is what I did. This was the first one. I took a scrap of Tim Holtz paper, it looks like tickets, and I added this scrap to it as a little pocket. This is actually a printable, is a whole bunch of little labels that I forgot I had. I found them in one of my little ephemera containers, and I don't know whose shop they came from, so I'll have to look for that. But I have a bunch of these little labels, and I'm going to use one on another tag here. This is one of my stamped labels. I stamped it on a math book page, and this little tiny Tim Holtz boy from the little paper doll people is perfect size. He's resting his hand on that label there. And then I added a brad that has a number on it, which I probably got at Hobby Lobby at some point. I have a lot of brads that I don't use very often, so I use them instead of eyelets. Then I just took some more scraps, and if they're appropriate for writing on, you can stick them in the pocket or just put some in for decoration. This one is not Tim Holtz, but it goes well with it. But the other 2 pieces are Tim Holtz scraps. So this is a very scrappy little pocket. The tag is a scrap, the pocket on the tag is a scrap, and the pieces inserted into the pocket are scraps. Here's another one that I did with Tim Holtz. This is like probably the very first paper pad of his that I bought. And another of my labels, and then another piece, which might have been from the same paper pad. And this one, I believe, is from the same paper pad. So I've had these scraps for a long time. And then this little ticket that got cut off of that ticket piece. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Oh, and this brad is really pretty too. Isn't that nice? And the back is dark. You could back it. You could use a white pen to write on it, or you could back it with something to write on it, or just use these for your journaling. So here we have another number brad in this one, and it's another piece of the ticket paper. I decided to use this side because I think it shows up better. It's a little more decorative. So, well, I sewed those other ones on, but I'm not at my sewing machine, so I'm going to just glue this on with as thin a line of glue as I can. And I got this arrow that was just a die cut arrow that I cut with my Big Shot. And then this is another label from those printables that I can't remember where I got them from. So that's what I'm going to use to decorate the pocket. Any ephemera, any little pieces of ephemera you have, it's a great way to use them too. Or make some ephemera pieces with more little scraps. Cut out elements. If you have a patterned piece that has images you can cut out, or punch out shapes. Use your imagination for decorating these things. And I'll just use another label on this. I want to use these labels up. I've got a little supply of labels that I made when I first got these stamps, and I want to use them so I can make more because they're really fun to make. Okay, there's that one. Oh, I didn't pull anything to tuck in there, so I will get my Tim Holtz stuff back out and find more little pieces that I can stick in the pocket. So there's another 3 tags done. The next tag has a little more to it, and there's more journaling space, and I made a bunch of them. So I took a sheet of Mrs. Cog's images that I had printed. I have quite a few of her images printed, and they're still in full sheets. So I got that envelope out, and I chose a page of her Little Darlings kit. And I think they are, is it Bessie Pease Gutman? Or one of the, no, it's a different artist, and I forgot her name. She did a lot of illustrations for Good Housekeeping, but anyway, she did a lot of illustrations with children, and they're so beautiful. So anyway, I decided to use that sheet, and I chose one that had the smaller images on it. These tags are cut 3 by 6.5. And what I was going to do was collage little bits of scrap paper on the back and then add this image to the front. But when I started pulling things out, I decided I really wanted the look of just straight, clean lines. So I just took scraps that would fit on here, and they weren't all necessarily 6.5 inches tall. You'll see one where I had to improvise with that, but these were all at least 6.5. I'm going to have to glue these. I think these reinforcements are older, so they're popping up, so I will put glue stick on them. But this has 3 pieces. So this one was a border piece from Graphic 45. It looks like it's 2 pieces, but this is all 1 piece. And then this was a wider piece that matched the color. And then I still had a little space there, so I just cut a really thin piece, and I just glued them down. They're either butted up flat. I think all of these are just butted up flush against each other. On some of the others, I did a little overlap. So I glued them on, and then waited overnight for it to dry, just to make sure, and I sewed this on today and added this little piece of lace. Then the extra bonus thing I did was make tags out of white cardstock, and these are not scraps. I took sheets of 12 by 12 cardstock that I have, and I don't use them. The only reason I use colored cardstock pretty much is when I'm using my Cricut. But so I was using stash but not scraps for this portion. So I just cut tags the same size as this, and I added this really cute book ring. I think I got this at Hobby Lobby to hold them together. So you could tuck this in a pocket and you have lots of journaling space. You could write a story on this. You have 3 tags, front and back, to use, plus that. So some other ways that I did that, I used 3 different things to hold them together. This is a ball chain, and I didn't add the reinforcements to the rest of these yet because I just sewed them together today. And I added this strip of lace right down the seam. Now this is the back, this is the card, the tag that I made. So it only has one piece of paper added to it. And then I sewed this piece of lace on top. I liked the color of this, so I let it show. And normally I like to offset my images a little bit. You see this one is offset, but since the lace is offset, I went ahead and added this to the center. And of course that's personal preference. I think my daughter likes things to be more symmetrical, so I think it would bug her to put something off center. So it's all personal choice as far as that goes. So there's one with the ball chain. Here's another one with a ball chain, and I really love this one. I love the blues. And the tag itself is blue, but it's all covered on the front. So I had this piece I really wanted to use, and it wasn't quite long enough, so I cut this piece to fit across the top, and then I added this piece on the side, and I like the way that all looks, and I added this white lace down the seam part again, and then sewed this on, and it's got a blue ball chain. And you can add charms or little bits of ribbon or whatever to any of these fasteners, and I may do that, but for now they're just going to go in my handmade ephemera box, and I can embellish more when I'm ready to use them. Here's another one. This one had this fit all the way up, but these two pieces were shorter, so I just patched them together on the side. And this one has a bulb pin to tie them together, and it has a bead hanging on it. And again, there are 3 tags attached. And then this one, this was created with the papers that I just used for one of those smash books. So it's got the basket weave pattern, and it's got some daisies down here, and this really pretty image. It says the spruce tree. I sewed through the P and I couldn't read what it was. It's the spruce tree. And it looks like they're just playing with little dolls down there. It's just a really cute little image. And I added this trim to the side of the Mrs. Coggs image and let the lace part hang off just a tiny bit. And again, it's got one of the book rings. So I've got some more pieces here. So the reason I made so many of these is because I wanted to use up that whole sheet of these illustrations. So I have a pink tag here, and this was just a scrap. Looks like watercolor paper, but it was a paper pad that looked like that. And then this is a really old scrap that I have, and I'm just going to do it like that, top and bottom. So you've seen some that were vertical, some that were vertical and horizontal, and this one is just horizontal, although this piece has a vertical design on it. So these tags are pretty, and the Mrs. Coggs image really helps make them say something. You can use whatever image you might have in your stash, whether it's Mrs. Coggs or something you cut out of a book or magazine or something you draw yourself, or even a die cut image. It doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to have flat sides. Whatever you have in your stash. I'm just encouraging you to get out your scraps and use them. And this will not be added today or on this video because I want to sew it. And I have to let the glue dry, and I'm not at my sewing machine. So I will add a piece of lace somewhere to it. I don't know what. It might be some of the daisies. I think I'll like that look with that. Some of these kind of things to that one. And I will punch it and add something to the top. So these are the tags that'll be attached. And there we go. I think that would be 6 of these little tag booklets all together. The next thing is a pocket with a tag, and it's pretty simple, as everything else is. I have two samples that I'm going to make. And that is to just take a piece that would be big enough for a little pocket like this. If you wanted to, if it's wide enough, you could score the sides and fold them under so it has a little more give for putting something in. But I'm just going to sew this onto a page like that. So that's basically it. I just cut these pieces that would be a good size. They vary a bit in size. I didn't make them taller than 4 inches. I think they're all 4 inches. And then punched a little notch thumb pull. I'm just going to widen that a bit, just because I like the way that looks. And I'm not going to leave it like that. I want to embellish it. So I cut this from a piece of kind of translucent gift wrap or tissue paper. And so I fussy cut that out. And I want to put this piece on, and I believe this was a scrap from something else that I did. I may have used it on one of these things. I don't see it now, but I had this little scrap here, so I want to put that behind it, and you can see it through it because it's translucent paper there. And then I have this other little scrap, and I thought I would just put that down there. And then this would get sewn to a page, and I would put some tags made with scraps. This is just a cut off piece, and I thought this would be a great journaling spot, so I just rounded the corners, and you can write on front and back. And then this is another cardstock scrap that I love, and these would both fit very nicely in there. Oh, I'm going to glue my stuff down, and then we'll decorate the next one. I hope I can get through all of these projects. They're all pretty quick, but I had quite a few lined up here. Like I said, there's just so much you can do with paper scraps. And I need to glue that strip, both of the strips on before I stick that down. Wasn't thinking. Put it on a little crooked. So when that glue dries, whoops, I will trim off little bits that are hanging off there. So that is a pocket, and then I can add some, whatever I want to add to these tags. I don't think I'll collage on them because they are patterned already. And you can journal on the backs of both of them or on the front. So these will be a nice little pocket and tag combo on a journal page. Let's do it in a different color scheme. This is a scrap from another tag that I made, which was made from a scrap originally. This one. It was a larger scrap, obviously. I think it was a long one. So anyway, it's a scrap. And I had to manipulate these two pieces. I had just a strip of this paper, which I love the colors of, and this is the back side of it. So I'd punched some circles in various sizes from that, and then decided I didn't want to use them the way I intended to on this part. So I had to work around the little piece that had the holes punched out of it, so I actually had to piece together these two pieces to put on the top. So that tag is all set, and I'll probably add a brad or something to the top. And then very simply, I don't want to detract from that pattern, which I love, but these are the numbers, and here are some letters. So, and this is just a strip of paper. Actually, was it this way? I think I had it this way, but I might like it that way better with all the other colors we have going on. So I've had this little scrap for a long time. And I just want to use a couple of these circles that I punched out. One down there and one... No, that's not how I did it. I didn't want two of the same size. Okay, so I think this is what I did. I had two there and then one up here. So you can still see the numbers, but it's decorated, and then this would be tucked in behind it. So I'm using various sizes of scraps, and I'm using solid and patterned scraps. All different weights of paper. I'm putting 3 circles on because of the rule of 3. Having an odd number is more appealing to the eye. And there is that. And I think that'll look really cute with a brad in that also. Alright, so there are 2 of those little pocket tag combos that we did. What's next? I still have time. We're doing great. We did a lot in 26 minutes. Oh, I just have some more of these ready and waiting for tags. I didn't prepare any more tags to go with these, but I'll probably work on these after I turn the camera off. I have one more thing to show you, but this is kind of a bonus because it's so super simple. I just didn't think it should count. I mean, everything is simple, but these are really super simple. So these are just circles that I punched out of the small scraps. And sometimes I have scraps of ledger or grid paper, and these are all scrapbook papers, but you often find them in patterns that you can write on. And I want to use them too because they're so fun to use for journaling cards. So this was very simple. Just I did 2 stitching lines across the circles. I glued them on just lightly. I didn't like glue all over on them, but just a little bit to hold them in place. I did that last night, and then so tonight they were all dry, and I just did 2 rows of stitching across. So these are fun little journal cards. You can put them in this way or that way. And then lastly is a journal page. I took some strips. These were scraps. This was a scrap of a printable from one of my wallpapers. And then these are just some cardstock strips that came with paper pads. And this was cut off of another paper. And I just cut them to the size of this journal page and glued them on the top and the bottom. And then you can take more scraps. These are both scraps of cards that can be journaled on. And you can punch them or not, whatever you want. I don't want that punch, I want this one. And then just tuck them in these bands. So that's fun. So it's, I guess it's a series of belly bands. So that's all I have. I got through them pretty quickly. I was afraid I wouldn't have time to do them all. I hope I didn't go too fast, but let's just review. So we have the belly band strips. on the page. We have pockets that are made out of pieces, and we will embellish with more scraps and then make tags with scraps. So you get quite a few scraps used up in a relatively short amount of time. Gotta add a little more glue to this. Of course, I made these things very quickly, but I spent quite a bit of time yesterday gathering the scraps and making the prototypes and all of that. So it wasn't quite as quick as it looks here, but it didn't take me too long to make all this stuff. So that's really great. So these can be really fun pockets. I like having generic things in my stash, but you can also, of course, make these to match whatever it is you're working on at the moment. Then we had a bunch of these tags that were made into tag books. These are really fun. And we had these that had the coordinating top part that are really cute and fun. And then we had these with the pockets. Now, I know a lot of these they're not new. These are just my take on them. We've all seen tags with a pocket on the bottom. I just wanted to make some with Tim Holtz scraps, which has probably also been done before. So that's what I have for you in today's What Can We Do with Paper Scraps? And look at all that I can add to my stash of ready-made handmade ephemera. Thanks for watching, and I will have at least one more episode of What Can We Do with Paper Scraps, and hopefully another one where I'm going to be using coffee dyed paper. I hope that you gained some ideas or some reminders on some things you can do with your paper scraps, and I hope you will get out your scraps and put some to use. Thank you so much for watching. Have a creative day today. Bye-bye.